Lucy Thomas, what a lady.
Dr. Anne McCluskey.
Remember, no more than 2 metres apart.
Thought he was going to throw the mic. Hello Belfast, hello lovely people. I'm delighted to see so many gathered here today to show that we're concerned, and as other people have said, this is not about any one of us, this is about our shared humanity. I come in, I was working in the GP out of hours last night, and I come in from work and I sat down to try and write a speech, and my head was so full of facts and figures, and I just gave up. So I'm going to wing it, and we'll see where it takes us. I just a few very brief words about myself. I worked in Belfast here in Children's Hospital, and I started training as a paediatrician way back in the 80s. And then I decided that maybe hospital medicine wasn't for me, and I wanted to create my own paediatric problems. So I went back to my native Derry, and I've lived there since. And I've worked as a GP in a place called Shantallow Health Centre. And Derry and Stormont District Council's own website shows that Shantallow is one of the most socioeconomically deprived areas in the entire of these islands. And there's up to 60% child poverty overall. So, as a doctor, it's such a privileged place to be, to help people through their lives and to be there with them. And I talk to people, I cry with them, I laugh with them, I hug them. To me, that human aspect of medicine is one of the most valuable parts of it. So at the beginning of this paneling, the first thing that went, in a way, was that where human beings were not, people who were ill, who were suffering, who were frightened, who needed medical help, were treated not with the human dignity that they deserve to be afforded, but as biohazards, as some sort of
Attention,
contaminant.
this is a police message.
And
It's my duty to warn you that gatherings of
the
groups
fact that
of more than 15
laws
people
were
is an offence
introduced
under
around
regulation of the Health
to change
Protection
death
Coronavirus
certification,
Restrictions Regulations.
and the way that all this
Northern
was
Ireland,
ramped up in the media
2020.
immediately
You do not
raised alarm
disperse,
bells.
you
And
may
I've
be
been
liable to
writing
prosecution.
about this since early April. We know that the care home residents, 25,000 people were pushed from hospitals where they were getting care, where they were getting treatment, where they were getting help to prolong their lives and to live with dignity. They were pushed into the care home sector. And although people in the care home centre make only 3% of our population, they were almost 30% of the fatalities from this viral disease. And that again was, it's barbarity. It's there's something very strange going on. Now, here we are in October. We're 3,000 nurses short in the north of Ireland. We still have a health service, and as I say, over the 40 odd years that I've worked in the NHS, I've seen it privatised, sold off, sliced, decimated. We have half of the beds that we had way back in the 80s. And the health service is always in crisis. I mean, if any of you remember the flu, 17-18 flu epidemic, where people were lying in corridors and in beds. The NHS at the moment has not been under any strain whatsoever, and even in April, there just wasn't a problem. We're being told now that, the acute care beds are only at 81% capacity. That has never happened before at the end of October. Meantime, people, we know that the mental health, that undiagnosed cancers, where there's been no screening for breast, cervical, bowel cancer, no diagnostics, in the British Medical Journal as early as June, they were talking about 2 out of 3 of the excess deaths were actually not due to COVID, but due to other factors which are poorly understood, but which are likely to include people not being able to access help, and people being too frightened to go and see about their chest pain or their unilateral weakness, which was a stroke, and that people were dying at home out of sheer terror. Yeah. And this all-pervasive fear is still being ramped up by this, the test, which tells absolutely nothing. So I'm going to just take a very small moment to talk about the PCR test. Now, as you know, the PCR test is now, there's tens of thousands of them being done every day. Boris Johnson plans to spend, wait for this, £100 billion on a test when the NHS total budget last year was 130 billion. This man is criminally insane. The man who invented the polymerase chain reaction test, a man called Karasmoulis, who had the bad manners to die last year, so he can't defend his test. He did say that it was not a diagnostic test, that it had, you could make something out of nothing. They're multiplying and multiplying tiny remnants of old virus, an RNA sequence, and ramping it up so that they're ramping it up to 45 times multiplication. If you take that to 60, 100% of these tests will be positive. They tell nothing about infectivity, and they are being used simply as a tool to promulgate fear and terror.
Yes, yeah.
The test has 99.2% specificity, which sounds really good. So that means that 0.8% are false positives. They are positive in people who do not have the disease. But in the phase 2, the community testing, where the levels of real infection are so low, then this becomes so that somewhere between 50% and 90% of these tests are false positives. So that all of this fear and terror is based upon a lie.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if our political leaders and our medical media darlings understand this. I suspect they do. And if they do, God forgive them. Yes. But you know, up there they're probably not capable of these simple sums. So for those of you who get a positive test, insist, you know, obviously we'd be trying not to go there, but insist upon a repeat, and it's overwhelmingly likely to be negative, before you close up yourself, close up your family, close up your household, close up your businesses. There ain't none. So I went out yesterday in Derry and walked around the city centre, and it would have taken tears from a stone. Every head down, blind terror in people's eyes, masked up, walking, jumping out of one another's way. It's absolutely bizarre that a government can get humans who should be hugging and, you know, at this time of the year in Derry, we do Halloween like nowhere else in the world. The town should have been jiving with children, out getting their costumes ready, out, you know, getting ready for this big celebration. Do you know what they're getting? A virtual Halloween. What the hell is that? They're going to be told to watch a computer screen and see fireworks. Worse, they cannot have their cousins, their friends, their grandparents. Everything that makes life worth living has been taken from us. And as long as we allow them to do it, they will continue to do it. Alana here has touched on the economic consequences of this, so I'm not going to go there. As you may be aware, there are now tens of thousands of scientists, doctors, epidemiologists, statisticians, data analysts who are waking up to this lie across the world. You may be aware that of the Great Barrington Declaration. I'm sure very many of you have signed it. I know I was proud to do so. And I just wanted to read to you Dr. Sunitra Gupta, who is an Oxford epidemiologist, her response to Twat Hancock's dismissal of the Great Barrington Declaration. And what she said is, it is important to bear in mind that the attainment of the herd immunity threshold does not lead to disease eradication. Instead, it corresponds to an equilibrium state in which the infection lingers at low levels in the community. This is the situation we tolerate for most infectious disease. For example, flu, which kills 650,000
It's my duty to warn you that
people every
gathering
year
groups
globally.
of more than 15 people is an offence under regulation of the
So this
Health
virus isn't going to go
Protection
away.
Coronavirus Restrictions
What we need to do
Regulations.
is shield the
Northern
vulnerable,
Ireland, 2020.
and the rest of us
Should not
need to get
disperse,
on with our life.
maybe
We need to
liable.
open the
Yeah.
NHS, we need to open our streets,
Yeah.
we need to open our doors,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
need to take back our humanity.
Yeah.
We need to celebrate the lives of the people we love. We need to look after our children. We need to hug people and go back to the dirty, smelly, infectious old normal that we all loved. Thank you.
Guys, I've just been made aware there, there's tickets being handed out. Kate, come here a minute. Come here 2 seconds, son. See the police officers out there that are handing out tickets. Take a look here. That's my son. That's why I'm standing here. You have kids as well. We fight for your kids. Looking for your children too.
No, he's now got his mask on. He didn't have it at the start.